Level 1. These raid bosses are the bottom of the barrel, as they either have absolutely no paracausal ability or no extraordinary power. Paracausality refers to forces in the Destiny universe that act outside of conventional laws of cause and effect. We mainly see this in the forces of light and darkness, two paracausal forces that manifest in elemental forms. But in this level, these bosses are either carried by other factors or simply just big versions of common enemies. Valkaor is our first boss at this level. Arguably the weakest raid boss we've ever faced, Valkaor was the de facto leader of the Red Legion following the death of Dominus Gaul. Months after Gaul's death, Kaor invaded the Leviathan, causing Calus to task us with murdering him. What makes Valkaor so weak is his rank. He is a Val, the second lowest commanding rank in the Cabal military, only above the role of Brachus. This is not to be mistaken with a Valus, the third highest rank in the military, only beneath Primus and Dominus. These ranks are given to Cabal based on their military prowess and leadership. What makes Valkaor so inferior is that we faced much stronger Cabal in places like strikes, which are not as dangerous as raids. For example, within our first few months of being risen, we defeated Valus Ta'ark. He was infamous for conquering major territory in the Martian Cabal exclusion zone, even taking over the city of Freehold. Ta'ark was equipped with a heavy slug launcher and helmed his operations on board the Cerberus Ve-3, his Imperial land tank, and commanded the Siege Dancers. Or take Valus Gaorn, a colossus of the Skyburners that we face on board the Dreadnought during our hunt for the Shield Brothers. Or even take Primus Calog, a higher rank than Valus, who we fought in the Conflux Law Sector during the Red War. What makes this funny is that Primus Calog, or another Primus or Valus, would have become the leader of the Red Legion instead of Valkaor, but because of the seemingly lack of Primuses or Valuses thanks to Guardian operations, the next best option in line for leadership was Valkaor. Valkaor is really just a giant incendiary, and his death pretty much broke the Red Legion. Insurrection Prime, Kael's Scourge, is another boss in this level. The Insurrection Prime was a Prime Servitor rebuilt into a giant brig by the Kael's Scourge, a group of anarchist fallen who desire chaos and raided various Black Armory vaults in search of their power. The Insurrection Prime was created by civics, lost to none, and served as a symbol for the Kael's Scourge's desire to abandon Elixni culture and tradition in favor of pure anarchy. This was the first brig, and utilized Black Armory weapons found in the Batsta district. Its most powerful capability, the white mechanic of turbulent detonation, is a nuclear weapon that could wipe out the entire last city given the close proximity to the city during the raid. While the Insurrection Prime was a threat, it did not wield any paracausal power. It was just a large brig, weaponized by the powers of the Black Armory. Argos, planetary core, was a huge Vex Hydra that was sucked up by the Leviathan during its consumption of Nessus. Argos is the largest Hydra we faced, but does not wield any weapons or have any abilities outside of the Vex Hydra Ordinary. It's the core of a planet, but again, doesn't wield anything paracausal or special, and compared to the other raid bosses we faced, it's nothing too out of the ordinary. One interesting fact is that Argos and the other main boss of the Curse of Osiris expansion, Panoptes, are named after Argos Panoptes of Greek mythology. Argos Panoptes was a many-eyed giant, serving the goddess Hera as a watchman. He was known for his vigilance, always having a constant watch. He was eventually slayed by Hermes, and his eyes were taken and woven into a peacock's tail to honor him. We see this idea present in Argos' design, as his head features many eyes, watchful like the Argos of Greek mythology. Tanyx the Abomination is another boss in this level. He's one of the most infamous Elixni, but not because of his might. He's one of the most memed characters in the Destiny universe. Tanyx once belonged to a house, but murdered his Kel and from then on refused to prove loyalty to any house, becoming a mercenary among the fallen. He modeled himself after Secris, Baron of Shanks, who extended his lifespan through cybernetics, and he followed, becoming a cyborg himself. While Tanyx has proved to be a threat, having murdered many Guardians, such as former Hunter Vanguard and Albrask, he's been killed just as many times, and sometimes not even by our hands. Cade 6 killed Tanyx 3 different times. Our Guardian killed him a 4th time, and a 5th time when he was enhanced by Siva. We killed him a 6th time during the Deepstone Crypt, where we faced him as a raid boss. Aramis and her House Salvation rebuilt Tanyx in the Deepstone Crypt, where we would find him and Atrax 1. We fought against Tanyx and the House Salvation on board the Morning Star, and he attempted to take the space station down with premature nuclear cores. The Morning Star would crash into the surface of Europa, and Tanyx was caught in the debris. Among the rubble, Tanyx fused his body onto a heavy shank, wielding nukes that threaten Europa. There's evidence that Tanyx may still be alive, as he laughs at us after we slay him.
Guardian
Taniks was once a threat to Guardians, but still did not possess any paracausal power. Considering how many times he's also died, Taniks stays in level 1. Calus is another boss I'll place in this level. It's important to consider that the Calus we face in the Leviathan raid is not the same Calus we face in Nightfall, as the Calus in the Leviathan is a robot and he gained transformation into a disciple much later. Robo Calus is the Calus that we're judging in this level. Robot Calus does not wield any weapons or abilities outside of the ordinary for a non-paracausal entity such as himself. The main debacle with him comes in his Scion counselors, who tap into the psychic abilities of the mind. They conjure mental projections. In this case, by connecting with Calus, they were able to send us into a nightmare realm with a giant Calus head that fired projectiles at our guardian. It's hard to judge psionic powers, but given the sheer strength of this individual, Robot Calus, I think it lands him in this level. Vosik the Archpriest was the second in command of the Siva Devil Splicers, second to only Axis. While he was enhanced by Siva, he did not attain apotheosis, an ascension to godhood, in the way Axis did. He had the technology and prowess to maintain a body for Axis, but beyond that, did not wield much power. Atrax 1 also goes in this level. She was a fallen baroness of House Salvation alongside Cretus, Phylax, and Praxis. During the Beyond Light campaign, Aramis sent Atrax into the Deepstone Crypt, where she transferred her consciousness into an Elixni exomind, becoming a fallen exo. This allowed her to duplicate herself and utilize the extinction protocol of the Morning Star. But like the others in this level, she displays no paracausal power and has equal amounts of strength to the other fallen baronesses that were defeated during the campaign. Her only advantage over them is her power to duplicate herself. But beyond that, she's really just an Elixni. I'm going to put the 3 bosses of the Desert Perpetual in this level: Iatros, Epoptes, and Agrarios. They are similar to Argos in the way they are just big versions of standard Vex, but the main difference is that they are of the Nessian Schism, under the command of Maya's Echo, a paracausal artifact of light and darkness. It's hard to tell the extent of paracausal effects the Echo has on the Vex. We know that the Vex of the Nessian Schism contain individual minds, and that they are echo-crafted. They also possess modified shielding and an anti-paracausal barrier, but we don't see any out-of-the-ordinary paracausal abilities in these Vex. It's also important to remember that these Vex are weakened by the dark matter of Kepler. Dark matter is very harmful to Vex biology. Iatros was even studying ways to neutralize dark matter by experimenting on itself. Other bosses that I think go in this level are the Siege Engine, yes, it's considered a raid boss, and the Ablazed Glory. The bosses in this level are just not comparable to the ones we'll see later on. Level 2. Raid bosses in this tier are influenced by some paracausality or other outside powers that elevate their existence, like Galran, the Sorrow Bearer. Galran was a shadow of Calus's loyalists, born to bear the Crown of Sorrow, a powerful hive artifact. He was bred to be strong-willed to handle the crown, but unbeknownst to Calus, the crown was a trick set by Savathun. She wanted Calus to bear the Crown of Sorrow, which would drive him insane, but instead that burden was placed on Galran. This drove Galran to madness, who took to the lowest levels of the menagerie of the Leviathan, becoming a conduit for Savathun. This is where Galran gains an edge over the bosses of the previous level. Savathun influenced Galran, using him as a vessel to command the hive. However, the power funneled into Galran is only but a fraction of Savathun's power. The extent of her hive magic manifests in abilities regarding deception, which we see in the various deceptions of Galran. He's given a very small degree of paracausal power. Axis, Archon Prime, was the leader of the Devil Splicers, and worshipped as a god. The Devil Splicers were a sect of the House of Devils that saw Siva as a way to enhance their biology, and attain apotheosis. Axis ascended into godhood, becoming interwoven with Siva. The Devil Splicers would gather Siva offerings and present them to Axis within the Perfection Complex. They wanted every Elixni to become enhanced and changed by Siva. His command over Siva proved him to be one of the most powerful Fallen to ever live, and this power is what places him in this level. While Siva is not a paracausal ability, a technology instead, it was something immensely powerful that Axis was the god of, but he was broken in the end at our hands. The caretaker of Rhulk's sunken pyramid is placed within this level. It is a scorn abomination, subject of many experiments, and once hosted a worm. The caretaker was tasked with overseeing worm spawn and other trinkets belonging to Rhulk. The caretaker was also the overseer of experiments involving the fusion of scorn and worms. It is empowered by darkness-based resonant technology, as seen in the resonance drones it produces. This gives the caretaker an edge over the other level, as while it is not paracausal in nature, the resonance technology it bears is powerful. The consecrated mind, soul inherent, was a Vex Harpy mind of the soul divisive that we fight in the Garden of Salvation. The consecrated mind and the sanctified mind were exposed to darkness in the form of the pyramid skull, which is why this mind is in this level. It has some level of connection to the darkness, but the consecrated mind served to consecrate the sanctified mind, to make it sacred. Remember, the soul divisive are the faction of Vex that worship the darkness and the witness, and these in particular got exposed to the darkness. But because the consecrated mind was not exposed to the darkness in the way the sanctified mind was, it is going in level 2. Rhulk, explicator of planets, was an overseer of the collection of planets conquered by the Black Fleet. His job was to explicate or analyze the planets, looking for possible disciples in the Veil. On a personal level, he searched for planets once belonging to the Cabal Empire. He has enhanced resonance and light technology, but it's important to remember that he did not control the planets, nor was the one to conquer them. His job was to watch over them and keep us away, and he didn't do the best job. Nezarec even comments on this, calling him a useless sack of meat. Level 3. The bosses in level 3 are here for either having paracausal abilities or exhibiting powerful feats. The Herald of Finality is a taken captain that we face in Salvation's Edge. This is the first boss we fight in the raid, the only other being the Witness, and I think that detail is very important. This boss is taken, giving it intrinsic paracausal abilities, and it also fights us with resonance attacks. The Herald of Finality is who the Witness chose to stall us before we could get deeper into the monolith, and it is the only champion it chose to fight us in the raid. While there's not much lore about this boss, that detail is very important. This is who the Witness chose to be the Herald of the final shape, so because of that, this boss at the very least is in this level. Rhulk, the Death Singer, is a hive wizard we fight in Crota's End. She's encountered in the final chamber of the raid in the Oversoul Throne. Rhulk sang the Death Song, a dirge that would kill and destroy all who heard it except for the singer. Toland the Shattered once speculated that the Death Singer weaves himself into the song to avoid death. Rhulk and Toland had a conversation once, which resulted in Toland's body being destroyed, but the transcendence of his existence into the Ascendant Plane. Rhulk's Dark Liturgy also killed legendary warlock Ariana III. The Kingsfall bosses, save for Oryx, are all in this level, as they are of equal power. Every boss in Kingsfall directly ties to Oryx in a chain through the sword logic. Each boss we kill is another step in the chain, eventually leading to Oryx himself. And all these bosses are very strong on their own, but they do not compare to the levels above this, so this is why they're here. The War Priest is a powerful Ascendant Hive within the Court of Oryx. Ascendant Hive are those who have a special prowess, gaining access to throne worlds through sword logic. Quote, an Ascendant will be those among the Hive who gather enough tribute to enter the Netherworld. They will pay a tithe to those above them. Some Ascendant Hive possess Oversouls, constructs that allow the individual to separate their souls from their physical bodies and hide them in the Oversoul, allowing them to survive death. Oversouls can be used for both defensive capabilities and as weapons. We see this in Oryx, who made the Dreadnought into his Oversoul, and was able to use its Death Impulse to destroy the Awoken Armada during the Battle of Saturn. The War Priest himself wielded an Oversoul in the form of the Oculus. This is the weapon that fires at us during his damage phase, and will kill you if you stand in the blast. Crota was the one who taught the War Priest how to create such a thing. The War Priest was first mentioned in the Books of Sorrow, having served in the destruction of the world Tai Shebethi during the conflict known as the Golden Imputation. He was faithful to Oryx and the sword logic, tithing so that one day Oryx may no longer need to gain sustenance and can instead focus his power to leading the Hive to the final shape. Golgoroth is the next boss we face on the road to Oryx. He was an Ascendant Ogre created by Zol with the intention to consume Oryx. Oryx saw through the scheme, and the worm god Aer formed a new shape for the Hive, giving him the name Golgoroth. When Oryx created the Tablets of Ruin, he placed one within a chest of Golgoroth. The beast served as both a vessel for the tablet and a tithe to Oryx. Rhulk and Rhulk are the Deathsinger daughters of the Taken King. The two were born from one larva, split in half by Oryx's Willbreaker. Rhulk and Rhulk were the creators of the Oversoul, finding that, quote, if we hide our deaths from ourselves, we become harder to kill. Crota was sent to watch over his sisters, but instead he wanted to learn their secrets. He wanted to experiment with a wound in the way his sisters did the Oversoul. He tore space with his sword, creating a gateway for the Vex to invade Oryx's throne world. Rhulk and Rhulk fought against the Vex, creating an Annihilator Totem to destroy the machines. Rhulk and Rhulk built the weaponry and internal systems for the Dreadnought. The bosses of Last Wish are in this level, except for Riven, as they all are similar in power. Kali the Corrupted and Shuro-Chi were both Awoken Techians, taken by Oryx. The two Techians, along with Sadia, prepared for the coming war against the Taken King when he first made his way into the solar system. They found that the confrontation would push Marsov into godhood. As part of the plan, they built a gateway into Marsov's throne world in the Blind Well. During the Battle of Saturn, Shirochi and Kali commanded powerful weapons known as Harbingers, and set them to attack the Dreadnought. The Harbingers are entities that the awoken Tachyons use as super weapons. The Harbingers barely did any damage to the Dreadnought, causing Oryx to unleash a death impulse that tore apart the awoken fleet. The Tachyons attempted to escape through a self gate, but it was open long enough for Oryx's essence from the blast to invade the Dreaming City. This allowed Oryx to take Shirochi and Kali, as well as Riven. As taken Tachyons, Shirochi and Kali are powerful warriors that land them in this level. Morgeth, the Spire Keeper, is the other boss from Last Wish. He is a large, powerful Taken Ogre, serving as a guard of the Keep of Voices and of Riven. Throughout the fight, Morgeth will grow in Taken strength. Not much is known about Morgeth outside of this, but given his place in this fight, his Taken abilities, and the fact that he was guarding the Dreaming City's most kept secrets, Morgeth is in the 3rd level. The Templar is an Axis Mind that is very unique, serving as a guard of the depths of the Vault of Glass. The Templar commanded the Oracles, sentient calculations that can manipulate time. The Oracles are clairvoyant, having the ability to foresee time that is to come, and the Templar has the power to match the Oracle's design. Quote, the power of the Vault flows through the Templar. It will take something extraordinary to shatter its shield. This one is tough to rank, as while the Templar is not paracausal in the way the others in this level are, the Templar is unique in its ability to command time in a way the other bosses can't. Level 4. Level 4 is defined by bosses who are immensely powerful, proving to be formidable challenges for Guardians. The Sanctified Mind, Soul Inherent, and final boss of the Garden of Salvation. Like the Consecrated Mind, the Sanctified Mind was exposed to the Pyramid Scale of the Black Garden, leading to mutation and corruption through the influence of the darkness. This exposure and connection to darkness makes the Sanctified Mind pretty powerful, all things considered. Koregos, the world line of the Nessian Schism. Koregos is a massive harpy and the final boss of the Desert Perpetual. This Vex Mind was formed within the heart of the singularity of Kepler, deep in the 9 space of the unknown periphery. Koregos was tasked with digitizing the 9 space into the Vex network. I think Koregos deserves to be placed in this level due to its abilities as a world line. In physics, a world line is the path traced by an object in 4th dimensional space. Koregos was a commander of time, and worked in the 4th dimension in ways that are hard to comprehend at this point. We see this in the epic raid, when Koregos becomes fractured in time. During this fight with Koregos, world lines will fracture around your Guardian as Koregos returns to the experiment's induction. In other words, sending you back to the past, before the encounter began. This ability to send you up and down the world line makes Koregos a formidable opponent. However, this was ultimately Koregos' downfall, as the knowledge we learn by traveling the world line leads to its destruction. God Knight, Light Destroyer, Eater of Hope. Crota, son of Oryx. Crota is one of the most powerful hive to ever live, slaughtering hundreds of guardians in his lifetime. When Oryx came to stop the Vex invasion of his throne world, he tossed Crota through the portal as punishment, declaring that he may either die or come home glorified. After fighting through history, he and his spawn eventually arrived on Earth's moon, hollowing out the underground, laying dormant until the City Age. During the City Age, Crota launched an attack on Earth, the Battle of Burning Lake. This was the first appearance of the hive since the collapse, and humanity impulsively launched a counterattack on the moon. This event was known as the Great Disaster. The Vanguard and thousands of Guardians invaded the moon, and Crota arose from his abyss. Each swing of his sword cracked the moon's surface, countless dying to his blade. He murdered Gunvor, the Dawncaller, and members of the First Pillar Order. He murdered the legendary Titan Wei Ning. He brutally murdered a Guardian with a knife hammered out of his own ghost. Crota's sword, the Sword of Crota, was said to be, quote,
so dark it drained whatever light it touched.
This, alongside his powerful Oversoul, proved his immense paracausal strength and proficiency. Atheon times Conflux was the overseer of the Vault of Glass. Atheon is responsible for bringing the calculations of the Vault of Glass into existence. It commands the Vex present in the Vault of Glass in addition to the Oracles, the sentient calculations. Atheon gains much of its power over its control of the time streams. It has the ability to send Guardians into the past and future at its own volition, and the power to erase them from time and history. Quote, we are ill-equipped to understand an entity that defies simple causality. Atheon waits in the Vault of Glass. Just as Atheon sidesteps past and future, it is impossible to say whether Atheon created the Vault of Glass or if the Vault created Atheon. Causal pathways converge on Atheon from every axis in the space-time bulk. There was once a fire team that invaded the Vault of Glass, but we only know of 3 guardians: Kaber, Pahanin, and Pradith. It is speculated that the remaining 3 were erased from time, the knowledge of their existence forgotten. This is why Atheon is so powerful. It has a command over time that we don't see anywhere else. Level 5. It's here that the raid bosses easily outclass the previous ones. They are so powerful and strong that the others before them just cannot compare, and there are only 2 that belong in this level. The Dreamer, the last Ahamkara, Riven of 1,000 voices. Riven was thought to be the last Ahamkara before we discovered her clutch of eggs. Riven played an integral role in the creation of the Dreaming City, as her wish magic allowed her to construct the city in Mara's throne world. Her wish magic is very dangerous, since deals with Ahamkara always come with a Faustian bargain. There's always a price to pay when you make a wish, something for the Ahamkara to twist. This is what makes the Ahamkara so threatening. The Great Ahamkara Hunt was fought for this reason. The Vanguard saw them as conniving forces causing more harm than good. When Oryx entered the Dreaming City, he also attempted to take Riven. Riven tried to bargain with the Taken King, telling Oryx, quote, "I never made a bargain with a king. I would like to try it. I tell him to take whatever he wishes, as long as he wishes." The two laugh together, with Riven becoming taken, but the wish allowing her to preserve her free will, an anomaly among the taken. Riven being both Ahamkara and taken makes her immensely powerful, and is what places her in this level. The Osmium King, Lord of Shapes, God King of the Hive. Oryx, the Taken King. Oryx is one of the most powerful characters in all of the Destiny universe. He alongside his sisters were reborn in darkness through the Dark Pact of the Worm Gods, which elevated the 3 to godhood. Oryx was a devout follower of the Sword Logic, the philosophy that defined the Hive and gave them strength. So many tithe to Oryx, fueling his power through sword logic. His most impressive display of power was in his battle with Akka, the worm god of secrets. Fueled by power he gained from temporarily slaying his sisters, Oryx defeated Akka and stole its ability to call upon the deep, carving the tablets of ruin and gaining the power to take. This strength gave Oryx the ability to conquer hundreds of worlds, destroying countless civilizations and slaying thousands of individuals. His power to take bent the will of his foes, bringing them to his army. Using the corpse of Akka, Oryx built the Dreadnought, empowered by his Oversoul, where he would eventually face us in his ascendant form. He was only defeated by our Guardian and their fire team when we had taken out the most powerful members of his court, who were tithing to the Taken King. We used Oryx's captured light against him during our battle, allowing us to slay the Taken King once and for all, ending his reign. Level 6. While Oryx and Riven are immensely powerful, they still are outclassed by the 2 in this level. The purest light, the darkest hour, the whispering nightmare, Nezarec, final god of pain. Nezarec is an ancient cosmic demon who has brought terror to countless worlds, feeding on their fear. Many religions and cults have worshipped Nezarec throughout history, such as the Scions and pre-Golden Age humanity. Nezarec was a disciple of the Witness, having a command over the darkness power of nightmares, and possessing powerful psionic abilities. Nezarec wove these nightmares into the fabric of his pyramid that sits dormant beneath the moon. During the invasion of the solar system during the collapse, he was betrayed by Savathun, who stole the veil and conjured a curse on his body. Pirate Fallen eventually cut a part of his corpse, leaving only his head on board the Witness's pyramid. Hundreds of years later, when the Witness invaded Sol once more, the Traveler shot a light terraforming beam at its pyramid, accidentally reviving Nezarec, giving him new paracausal powers. It was in this state that we fight Nezarec, a being infused with both immense powers of light and darkness. He was already such a nightmarish and powerful deity before this. We only managed to defeat him in the Root of Nightmares, as our fight was the first time he was actually able to use his new body. Right as we get to the boss fight, he breaks out of his tomb, the first time he was ever able to move in this new body. There's no telling how powerful Nezarec could truly be if he was given just more time, and even after death, Nezarec whispers to us.
My memory will never extinguish. In your calmest moments, your deepest slumber, you will remember me, Guardian.
We know that he has died at least 4 times before. Drifter once visited the 4th tomb of Nezarec. Nezarec can never be truly defeated, as he is the embodiment of an idea. For these reasons, Nezarec is a threat that we can never truly defeat, and a foe that shall always linger. A living idea. Subjugator, disciple of the dark. Wormfather, Rhulk, disciple of the Witness. Rhulk was the first disciple of the Witness, and one of the most powerful paracausal wielders to ever live. He was a master of darkness, second to only the Witness. witness. Rhulk hails from the planet Lubre, and was groomed by the witness to destroy his civilization. In his earliest days, powered by darkness, Rhulk destroyed the sapphiric sun of his civilization, cracking Lubre, leading to the extinction of the Lubrean species. This was just the start for Rhulk. The witness tasked Rhulk with subjugating the worm gods of Fundament, so he delved into the depths of the planet and had an altercation with the Leviathan. The Leviathan, a large aquatic beast and disciple of the Traveler and guard of the worm gods, was crippled by Rhulk, who extracted one of its ribs. Rhulk then brought the witness's philosophy to the worm gods. Rhulk was known as the subjugator of the worm gods, for he sparked a trade with Zeta, mother of the worms. The deal was external servitude in exchange for the survival of her children, and Rhulk forced her to power the Upended. The Upended was Rhulk's super weapon that he used to obliterate entire planets. We really shouldn't even have won our battle with Rhulk. It took the combined powers of both light and darkness to defeat him, but he only lost because of his own arrogance. He did not take the fight seriously, viewing us as playthings, and only realized in his final stand that we were true threats. If he was not so arrogant, we would have lost to the disciple. Level 7. The Black Edge. The Voice in the Darkness. The First Knife. The Witness. The Witness is by far the most powerful threat we've ever faced, and a raid boss that deserves a level all to itself, an entity formed by the consciousness of an entire civilization. The Witness destroyed thousands of societies and worlds in the name of salvation and to further the final shape, the calcification of the universe. It almost brought humanity to extinction with a collapse, and was close to enacting the final shape back then, only prevented by the deceptions of Savathun. The Witness carries immense power. It murdered Guardians with a simple flick of its wrist. It subjugated the Traveler, rooting itself within its light. The Witness was so close to enacting the final shape on so many different occasions. The Traveler just continued to fight back, stalling it, but the final shape was almost within its grasp, and we see this in the beginning of the final shape, as it was about to finalize the last city. We faced the Witness on 3 separate occasions. In Iconoclasm, we can do no physical damage to the Witness. The only pain that we can inflict upon it is within its consciousness, by destroying its dissenting voices. This led to the Witness transforming itself into a giant creature that we then face in Salvation's Edge, when it's rooted itself so deeply into the Traveler. Throughout the raid, it is mere moments away from enacting the final shape. Wiping in the raid means that the final shape can no longer be stalled and it becomes enacted. We don't even kill the Witness in Salvation's Edge. We only cut the root and connection it has to the Traveler and wound it. This forced the Witness to retreat to regain its power, and in this moment of weakness, we were able to spring an attack. 12 Guardians and Ghosts, all channeling the Traveler's light, tore apart the Witness. This battle wasn't easy, and it took so much to defeat the Witness, a demonstration of how powerful this entity truly was.
I don't understand.
Thank you for watching this video, and thank you channel members for making this possible. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you'd like to see more in this style, please comment down below. And if you'd like to watch another, click the video on screen right now. And again, thank you for watching.